we're on our own. How long do we walk across the wire? Stay till we fall.
Hello and welcome to the Boise State Esports Arena. Tonight you'll be watching our coverage of CVAL. 32 teams began this competitive journey for an opportunity to claim that championship title for the spring 2023 season. And today you'll get to witness California State Los Angeles take on the Broncos. This is a pseudo winner-take-all type of moment as both of these teams are competing for the opportunity to move on to playoffs, which are happening this weekend. I'm going to be your host for this evening, Artie Nerdy Bird Rain, and joining me virtually on the desk is going to be Rich Rad. All right, so Rich, we are aware that both of these squads 2-0'd Stanford. With that in mind, how close of a game do you think we're about to be jumping into?
I mean, you never know. When it gets to these final moments going into a elimination type of situation where all these teams have culminated to this moment to get into that weekend playoff, anything can happen. Preparation ahead of time, the stakes get high. They start to elevate themselves. They look at and review and what their opponent has in store for them, especially with the way that Boise State's been playing. And really just anything can happen, but I do feel strongly going into this that they have an opportunity of being able to maneuver into that position so that they can compete at this type of level.
I mean, of course, I get to be a little bit biased. I'm not only a student, but I am here in the
Right.
arena myself. So, of course, I'm going to agree with you, not only just because I'm biased, but because you made a very solid point. I've heard the teams practicing here. I mean, I was here during the LAN event that happened for CECC where they suffered an unfortunate loss that was very heartbreaking for them, and they just came back from that so much stronger. Granted, there's a little bit of animosity to the team that knocked them out, but today we're not going against those squads, and so this is an opportunity for them to prove themselves all over again, and I think the first part of that is getting to these playoffs. We can actually take a quick look, I believe, at the standings thus far for CVAL regarding the Broncos. If not, and I'm completely crazy, I apologize to everyone watching. But with that being said, nonetheless, the Broncos are doing quite well. This is a winner-take-all, kind of, because they need to get into this playoff situation for this weekend. It'll be extremely exhausting. Unfortunately, I will not be able to cast that. But nonetheless, I look forward to be able to watch them go forward this weekend if they come out on top of today's game. But, of course, you know, you and I are just casters. Right?
Yeah.
So we can't give any words of advice to these players, but their coach, Doc Haskell, always does. And that advice comes in the form of Doc's keys to the game. In Valorant, they are focused the angles and flanks, know your win condition, count cards, call abilities, and click heads. Doc's keys to the game are presented to us today by Drop In Gaming. Drop In Gaming is a premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. To begin your competitive journey, sign up at dropingaming.com. Also, for anyone that is new here, we of course are going to give you the opportunity to take a look at the glorious and beautiful faces of our players in the form of our roster lineup for today. I know I have met quite a few of the players that we have on for our team, but it's always nice to see their smiling faces. So we'll actually have the opportunity to have that roster pop up here in just a few minutes. And currently on stage, we have Bagel. The rest of the squad is in a different room because they're going to be really loud. We have Rihanna, Daimio, Aldum, J-Bags, and Skies. Today's lineups are brought to you by Count. Count Identity Trust Global Network delivers real-time fraud prevention, account protection, and enables personalized customer experiences for more than 9,000 leading brands. Thank you, Count.com. So, as we're about to jump into this first game, are there, disregarding what the map pick might be, just knowing how our players like to play, we kind of have some setup like agents that we tend to see a lot. Are there any ones that you most likely feel like we're going to be seeing? I know for a fact we're probably not going to see Gecko today. Sorry if anyone's hoping to see Gecko. I'm pretty sure he's technically illegal for CVAL, as much as it breaks my heart.
Yeah, with the recent involvement and integration of the new agent, I would not be surprised if they, for ruling to keep them out, since there is still some things that can be tweaked when it comes to, viability and then also overpoweredness in some respects that many have talked about amongst the community. But more so, not only just about the agent, which again, we'll see once we get into this. I know you've recently seen a lot of it specifically from the recent tournament where they did not claim this win, but I'm more looking at just like the players that, at least recently when I was able to watch, all 5 of these individuals are extremely technically and just mechanically skilled individuals, but J-Bag and Ruriana are the 2 that I like to keep a focus on, because the last couple of instances that I've specifically been able to watch them in their Valorant matches, they've really had an opportunity of accelerating and finding these opportunities in clutch factors where they're looking for these very viable lurks or these outplays and their ability to trade amongst their opponents. So those are the things that I at least want to continue to see, and especially with you specifically seeing them reach this unfortunate loss, how they're going to potentially reevaluate the strategies going into this now to becoming victorious, and what those adaptations are going to be, since you specifically last saw them, and even me being able to indulge even further on what I've already seen weeks prior.
Honestly, the loss I felt like was partially due to the nerves. I mean, LAN events, to anyone that has ever played in a competitive esports environment, knows that it's a completely different style of energy. And yeah, they were on their home turf, but when everything's on the line, sometimes you just start making mistakes, and it seemed like we'd forgotten our core mechanics and just kind of lost track of what we needed to do to win. But since then, things have gotten a lot better. And just a side note to everyone that's watching, we do have Maze in on our team today. We had to have a substitute. Of course, spring break just ended, so not everyone is back on campus just yet.
As we're entering in first, a couple of great trades coming through, though, over towards that B site, rotating forward to take a little bit more of an aggressive position, looking to unfortunately be taken down with that aggression. Consequences do come out early, so it is a disadvantage for the moment, but still some patient play to rotate towards that B site so that they can look to prevent this plant.
It's a 2v3 situation, definitely still favoring UCLA. We're playing now for retake most likely, just because we know they're in there. Unfortunately, the KJ, we got eliminated very soon, and our KJ is typically someone who sits on B site. Egressing forward as they did might have been an unfortunate situation. We didn't hear a lot of noise. We did use the knife and did not pick anyone up, so we're trying to determine right now. We had a half rotation over towards A site, didn't hear anything. Going back towards B through CT, believing that this is where everything's going to happen, as that smoke is yet to expire. Being placed back down, the flash comes out, Sue goes down, God finds Skies, and Maze finds God, so it's a 1v1 with the spike planted.
Seeing if they can get the value, do manage to get it in time. Not enough turret damage to eliminate that last 48 HP. And the beautiful part of this too is, even though there was a little bit of a mind game play by CSU, the patience from Boise State was so important because they got that audio cue that the door was shutting. Here specifically in this replay, you can just hear that subtle sound knowing that they had to peek that corner after getting the initial pick moving through. The dash gets that opportunity of intel. Quick pick up here despite there being a trade down below and looks for this trade. And again, this is where it just comes down to tactical skill, understanding to hit those shots when necessary, being able to take this first round and give themselves an economy that they can use to make this now a 2-0 lead.
Ghost boy.
Right here.
We're entering bonus here. Guys, stick with just a sheriff and light shields, possibly planning on saving up a little extra economy to go with the operator pick by round 3 or round 4 if the Broncos can win this one. That's the very important thing here. Skies is holding up on A site with our KO, our substitute Maze. He got that clutch play at the end of the first round. We have intel. We know they're trying to surround it towards A site as there's one coming towards tree. They've backed off. The Broncos are not engaging just yet. They're waiting it out to get more util and intel.
Patience is a virtue as they hold defensively. CSU actually is playing an extremely slow, methodical game. They're not over-aggressing in this. They know they need to find an opportunity since they've played more reserve here. They are outmatched when it comes to weaponry, so they need to be strategic on this. Using that intel does get some value, and the shot comes in by the Marshal, but just can't quite land the damage. Boise State, unfortunately, gets outmatched again here. Sheriff shot, what a beautiful wall bang, even though it's going to be English. Oh my God. And surprisingly, this is quite formidable from CSU.
We are in a 1v1 situation despite having had the advantage of weaponry. Rihanna's going to come through CT very slowly. We hear the spike get started to plant.
Spike planted.
It is not even a fake. It goes down. We had 14 seconds left. That cloud smoke's going to expire here quickly. Rihanna's choosing to rotate around mid, making sure that they're intel, but they take a Marshall shot. 23 health and a dream.
So tense.
Oh,
Rihanna waiting for the shot. Goes for it. Can't quite get it either with the wall bang. Viable, eludes the second, looks to dive down, needs to aggress into this to take them out before that spike. See if they can find it, a trade, a potential fake. Take the bite. They go for it again. It's only 9 HP and just gonna abandon ship, but no, comes out with the pistol and gets the shot. What a great, well-rounded play here from CSU to actually deny the defuse.
Need a drop.
That was very nerve-wracking. The unfortunate situation is that it's a Marshall going into a Bulldog, and we already knew that that Jet God was very capable of landing shots. We got Rihanna took a couple, I think, to the abdomen, didn't get those headshots. They were also wallbanged.
Protect our motherland.
She said to bait that initial shot, and Jet was aware that we were trying to bait it, so Riri could not engage without the fear of getting another shot to the head.
By Boise. Catching their enemy off guard. Takes a couple of shots for now. Just merely a flesh wound. CSU, once again, plays slowly. This is consistently their methodical. I'd love to see methodology. Sky's now a little bit cornered. Nice shot onto the flash, but now has to hide due to paranoia. And they at least have the numbers advantage by 2, since there is a pickup by Rihanna on the opposing side of the map.
Right now, Rihanna also took a little chip damage, as did our Sova. CSU playing their cards patiently, holding them close, making sure that we're not giving up a whole lot of intel here to the Broncos. They're also looking to not dump a lot of utility and trying to force the Broncos to use their own so that they can wait it out and engage at the last second here to take a fight. We do see smoke has gone over towards a main
30 seconds left.
Omen. There was a knife over towards Catwalk as well. That came from CSU. Another smoke. Commitment over towards Maze and Sky. God goes down. Looks like it's a 2v2 with 10 seconds. Spike is planted, most likely over by Generator. So Broncos at least know where the are looking.
Darts come out for the angle. What a usage of the turret to deny visibility on the body. pick up, but unfortunately, wall bang damage comes through, and you do see a takedown from Goo down below. And again, I really, really do love the hesitation that's coming out, at least from Boise State, to better evaluate and understand the positioning here. But there's just a couple of key things specifically. This moment right here on the replay is that the entry through that doorway, passing through the smoke, was a little bit disjointed from maneuvering on the catwalk in Heaven to try and coordinate a pincer. And it's those subtle micro plays and lack of timing that can cause a little bit of a challenge, because you're not being able to, yes, if you sacrifice one to gain the other and you're delayed in timing, you're just going to these one-for-one trades when the weapon advantages for CSU. What a shot!
Skies did exactly what I thought he was going to do, and that was save up by the operator, taking that shot down mid, finding one instantly, putting the Broncos at an advantage. Now this basically locks down the majority of the mid area for teams to rotate through, because they know Skies looking for anyone to give him a head to click on. As Maze finds Goo, Broncos leading by 2 agents right now, ticking down to the 1-minute mark. No solid commitment onto a site, but it looks like they might be pinned down near A and forced to rotate all the way to respond for the attackers. Skies takes down the enemy jet.
2 significant picks. Numbers advantage. Squid, by the way, on top of the gun. One of my favorite skins. You see all of them. Getting the intel necessary, knowing that they're still in there. Turret going to be placed. Great cross angle here as well. Boise State defensively. And there's going to be a very slow rotate by Ruriana. And this is something we've seen before, but, you know, despite them not being able to get a couple of pickups, there's a cleanup here. Skies gets 3, Operator brings value, and that's going to be a 2-2 scoreline.
Skies is just going to be a walking one-shot turret coming out from the mid area if Skies chooses to post up there again, but it looks like just force the enemy team to expect the unexpected. Skies is just going to be staring down at Fish Market here from B site as opposed to locking down mid. We could see a very quick rotation through mid, either towards Moscow or towards 3 to A sites, really the upside UCLA feels comfortable with. They do have Omen ultimate as well as Gold coming out. We hear Bladestorm get popped from CSU. See what where they decide to go. There's hot flash over towards B site, and it looks like the commitment has a lot of util full side.
Yeah, there's so much committed into this, and it's a great read. It forces Boise State to completely have to reevaluate how they get into this, and it nullifies any value that operator can bring to this equation that we saw in the previous round. And with this extremely heavy rush onto B, it makes sure that they've got the angle, but as I say that, there's a shot that goes wide. Can't quite get anything, but this movement onto the point is being extremely optimal. Boise State now going to offer a retreat for the moment. Wait until that does dissipate from the killjoy, so they no longer have that ultimate activated for the lockdown. Entering back in, looking for holding this angle. They're just needing to cover in as a coordinated unit, and this is what I love to see. It is a unified aggression. Despite there being a couple of pickups by God, it is overall a more optimal outcome because they are working as a single independent cogwheel in a giant manufactured machine.
Retake was phenomenal.
On my
See a little bit here
Don't give them time to
perspective of Skies also kept the op. Able to lock down both of those front archways, making sure no one can just engage. They kept that jet at bay in the back of the point, and despite having Bladestorm out, they did get one pick, and the rest of the team surrounded and conquered them, pitching them off into that one corridor, making it impossible to move. As we have someone showing off the fact that they have cool skins in the game that I will never buy because I am broke.
Yo, you and me both. Alright, let's see what Skies can do this time around. Stifled in the previous round. What a shot, though, again, coming out instantly, peeking through. Goes for a second, a blind shot through the smoke, but they've already gained the advantage. They're going to let this suppression dissipate until they can take a re-entry. Trick's still on a nice angle here towards mid, as you do have Maze looking to pressure in, pushing through Pizza, seeing what they can do through this doorway. Big Dame tosses out some cover. Blinding visibility for the moment, as they still at least have one player advantage, but we've seen before CSU be able to come out in situations like this, especially since they still have some decent weaponry to work with, as the Hunter's Fury is activated and getting quite a bit of damage.
Takes the Hunter's Fury via Abdian, and then 2 finishes him up. Take out the Skies found 1. Paladin finds another. Now it is just KO, who initially went down, but is able to look up quickly with a nice flick from one to the other and clean up the rest of the Broncos. Let's see what went down in that last situation.
Need a drop.
And this is where we kind of get it's this such great coordinated play previous game, and then that pincer maneuver right there where you had the jet and
Right here.
the follow-up from the high ground. It was just slightly off timing, so you had
Right here.
this great recovery once again by that corner angle. Just you first get the jet, then you take the high ground. That just subtle timing. I'd love to see get cleaned up a little bit because Boise State has the right idea. We've seen them do it before. And once again, out the gate gets the advantage. Now they just have to dominance.
Rihanna around the finds one, can't get the second, so it's a trade. Boise State's still leading by 1 agent. We have Blake still online. These guys are not dumping all of their ammunition into one target. Great. Omen has his ultimate for the side of CSU, as does ours. We also still have that Hunter's Fury online. In this 3v4, what do you think the win condition is right now for Boise State to keep this locked down?
I mean, the biggest win condition is I'd like to see them play patiently as they've done before, but at the same time, if they look to play aggressive here, they need to do it as a unified force, not have themselves be a little separated. At this point, Big Name does have a great angle, gets 2, and almost the 3rd, but finally goes down, and that gives massive intel to 3 others. They just need to clean this up, and they're going to do so. And again, patience is a virtue. Let your enemy with the disadvantage walk into the waking arms and the lion's den that is Boise State, and it's moments like those that you can take an easy win.
I could not agree more. I mean, being posted up and holding angles is great for the Broncos. You mentioned it earlier as well, which is the whole, in order to win, they need to fight as a unified group and not be taking, you know, these 1v1 situations. A 1v1 is equal on both sides, but whoever has that slight advantage, the better crosshair placement, whoever landed the first shot, more likely to win in that firefight. So taking a 2v1 is more advantageous for the side, for the Broncos, and just making sure they're not trying to ego take one-on-ones on the
Spike down A.
This guy's putting on a show today. Ramped up and wants to continue. Again, sacrifice. That's the thing. I know it's the whole thing about casters. You shouldn't do math on broadcast. We get it. But it's talking about how you're going in with effective trading. You've got 2 swinging that, taking a wide angle, making sure that you counteract it. Here's another by Big Dane. Get a pincer and follow up immediately after to make sure that there is no sense of recovery. Boise State now takes the advantage. And now that they've started to warm up to this, they're feeling a lot more confident. They're taking these trades. And if Skies gets these early game values that are really putting CSU off guard, they're in a great spot because CSU has yet to find themselves, I believe in the last 4 rounds, if I'm not mistaken, that it is Skies getting an initial pickup for free.
Not to mention that we also have either our Omen or our KO with Skies, not so much swinging with Skies, because we know Skies can take these duels. It's more the fact that we have someone willing to go and to take extra aggression away from Skies, sacrifice themselves in the form of what we call get down Mr. President sometimes. But unfortunately, God is going to return the favor, take down Christiana and Skies, find one out, Paladin finds one, and then they unfortunately go right down to the enemy Sova. Big Dame is going to find Tronus, so there was another trade, but the Broncos currently down by 1. There could be a quick rotation, but it seems like it is a B-site commit.
Big Dane working their way through the darkness of the shadows and finds themselves alone. But I guarantee you that CSU is unaware of this. With the aggression that came through of all 3 smokes. Looks for the long shot and finds it!
They were thinking he was by CT. Oh no, we got him up our operator from Skies' body. That is so tragic. Now we have no choice. We have to give an operator back to Skies and we have to see it duel. That's all I'm saying. Of course, I like to stir the pot, but if we don't see it happen, it's not because I said that we absolutely need to. It's me making a dumb request slash suggestion.
I mean, you have a very big spoon and a very big goblet, so I'm pretty sure there's a lot of stirring to be to be had here for that. But I would love to see it too. I love a good old op duel, but that's not exactly what Sky's going to look to do here. They're going to reserve themselves and go more for the alternative of Vandal, I believe that was there. So we'll see what they have and how it's going to be CSU playing with this op on entry, looking to potentially hold those long angles through mid, or potentially look for another sneaky pickup over in B. But for now, still playing back, Sky's holding the angle, and waiting for CSU, who now have once again resorted back to a little bit more of this pensive aggression and just waiting patiently until they're going to almost put Boise State on edge and maybe walk out vulnerably into that op.
Truly, I think playing back and waiting is the best thing the Broncos can do right now. I do believe we heard an ult orb get picked up over near A site, but we just had the knife go towards back of the enemy. KJ is going to drop the lockdown as well. Either we're doing a hard bait over towards the other site, but Sky's picking up Jonas. I think this is definitely a big mixing up for CSU.
So much committed to this. Nanostorm denies by space. Hunter's Fury, though, onto the default position, seeing if they can get out of it. With a few shots, finds another angle. Sky stepping up at this point and wants to maintain the lead. Not out of this yet. Storm still continues to strike. God finds the shot downs, but it is unfortunately not enough. It is a 3 versus 2. They're going to look for the defuse, grab the weaponry, and once again look to take the advantage in this follow-up round.
It looks like Big Dame picked up the operator off of the enemy jet, and I think Skies was staring him down like, you gonna give that to me?
This is no longer for you. Give to me.
Need a drop. Thanks.
Incredible show
Well done.
of just prowess from Skies, though. A 4K. We don't care about ace stealing in the realm of C-Val. It's all about teamwork, and it does look like Big Dame was trying and returned it over to Skies. We have that Bladestorm online. We have another lockdown online for the side of the Broncos. Bladestorm for the side of CSU, as well as their own Hunter's Fury. Truly, I think if the Broncos play a little bit more patiently and let the side of CSU play into them, as they've done before, where they were very defensive. This is the important thing here. Let CSU reveal themselves first as we're peeking onto time. Skies gets a knee and finds smokes immediately.
You know, in basketball, you can break people's ankles, and in this game, you can break people's knees. But there is some great counterplay maneuvering through that mid position. Nice, even exchange, though. So it's a 3 versus 3. All of them going to hold this doorway angle, though, in the back. And again, reserved from Boise State. They need to let CSU move in onto this point to potentially get that early pickup. They know the op is here by B. Great intel gain. Got the dart in time. Ricochets the shot. Dart looks for a second, even, to get some chip damage onto the Omen before finding a more optimal position. Oh, now they know in return where Aldum is, and they've got to abandon ship for now until they can look for this new pincer maneuver as the spike comes out.
Oh, the patience from Maze, peeking the op, the dominant crosshair placement. Now it is KJ left standing. Trix does find Aldum. Maze, 100 health, gets the headshot, and that is another round for the Broncos. I think Maze might even have enough time post-defuse to quickly run and grab the op, but I'm not positive. Run, run,
Sprint, Maze, sprint!
run. Oh, are you just saying no, Skies? You don't get another op? I mean, that's valid. They did completely get eviscerated by the enemy's jet, and trying to deal with other people picking up the op is a really rough situation.
You just hear Skies in the back just being like, "Thank you, sir, may I have again?" And then it's just like, nah, you ain't
Oh
getting
my
it.
gosh, Sky has it again. They did give it to him.
There you go. There you go. Now we're, again, going to look for this long angle, stayed over by B site, as we've seen repeatedly. No change up here. Wouldn't be surprised to see if CSU wants to offer what they did a few rounds previously. Back, finding it. But we've got the great play with the potential wall bang, but nobody's going to walk openly into that. Since Boise State has done that now for a few rounds, they've learned, at least from CSU, and that's what leads me into seeing if they're going to push towards this mid to A site, but there's at least coverage here by Skies in that open space. Now, with the suppression coming through, curious of how they move in. They check the corner, but left themselves vulnerable, and now it's not Skies who's making the plays, it's Maze who's doing it. With them even being suppressed at the moment, they don't need to contribute anything else but weaponry fire. As Skies finds an angle, it's only one that remains from CSU, and that's all that she wrote for this next round as the Odin lays waste.
I just love to see Maze pick up a multi-kill because it's like, he gets one and he's like, but wait, there's more.
They're supposed to be fighting back.
Behind door number 3, there's absolutely more. That's all I think when you say comments like that. I'm loving it. But look at this. This is just great heads-up play, understanding the movement of your opponent, how they're going to pressure onto this position. They find themselves in a really shaky position where they're not feeling as confident due to the stress that's being put on them from multiple different angles. Now we take the swap of sides. Boise State at a great 4-round lead, looking to see what they can gain on this A position and just really throttling forward, especially with all of them having the Sonic Arrow to know exactly how many might be in this position, and they just want to rush it.
And we're going to have some initial swarm grenades being dropped as well. Sky's using both the updraft and tailwind to engage, but the shorty from the close angle comes in and sends, unfortunately, Sky's no be God in the sky. Melvin finds one, we're equal, but then God with the shorty again takes down another Bronco. Rihanna returns the favor with the classic, I think also possibly picking up a gun. Maze with the skills, this does give you a slight range advantage. The frenzy favors those that want to be in close range combat, but you have to be at the risk of, you know, being the blunt end of an open shorty, and that's what happened to 2 of our players.
Yeah, and all of them, though, going to pick it up from this angle. Easy shot! Blowing brains on the wall with that close proximity. Now getting the intel necessary, plays the angle, goes in. 2 have been spotted out, but smokes get to themselves. The ghost shot finds the 3rd. All of them goes down. And again, I have to give CSU a lot of credit. Not because Boise State's doing a stellar job all around, but the ability to turn fights from CSU when they're at a deficit is actually extremely compelling. They do not allow themselves to become vulnerable at the disadvantage, and they've been able to make something out of nothing on multiple occasions through this, and that's the one thing that Boise State really has to stop, because it's those types of plays that really build the morale and the drive to come back into deficit rounds like this.
Really, the thing that CSULA is doing very well in those disadvantaged fights where they're down a man is they recognize, hey, we cannot engage alone. And we saw it just then as they took jump down to hell, 2-on-2, and then a 2-on-1. The Broncos were none the wiser. Guys immediately go down to God. Another attempt at a shorty shot, brings Mara Oven down to 20 health. But we shut the door, you threw the swarm grenade. Opportunity now for them to get this locked down. They did it just on the edge of the hitbox here for the site. They are able to use multiple angles as well as hide inside hell like a little rat and kill someone who tries to get a defuse. But there is an Ares on that high ground. That's a lot of damage, but a lot of lack of control. So Broncos do still maintain an advantage in these big fights, and they use it very fast.
Fun fact, rats can actually eat through an entire steel pipe, and at this point, that's pretty scary. And it's scary when you have a rat position like this able to get an instant pickup. But also to build on that, sorry for that fun fact, that was a little out of left field. But let's talk about this, because it almost felt like deja vu. The only difference here was just a change up in weaponry. Instead of the shorty, it was the judge. Instead of the pistols, it was the specters. It was everything exactly as it was previously, but Boise State, better understanding how the previous fight went, especially with the weaponry advantage, was like, nah, we're not going to let you have this. This time we're getting it. And now we're going to come in again, same spot, same strat, and there's no one here to be able to counter it.
It seems like the side of CSU might be trying to play a little bit here for more of the retake and not lose anyone early on, understanding that the retake is extremely hard when 5 people are on the point from the Broncos and CSU has 1 or 2. Rihanna is going to find tricks, so there is unfortunate aggression between... Oh my gosh. Guys, that was dirty.
One enemy remaining.
I love to see it, but that was dirty.
Nothing but dragon's breath from the flank with that weapon, as it's now a 10-5 scoreline here. Boise State closing the gap to take this first map. And realistically, we had the passive play from CSU when it came on the attacking side. We're seeing the same type of methodology, which isn't a bad thing. It's just now when you have a hyper-aggressive team like Boise State, CSU is having a real hard time with it, and it is glaring. The more economics that can be put into this and the better weaponry, it's going to punish CSU, and they need to be able to retaliate.
I am personally adoring the fact that the Broncos are showing a lot of self-control. They're not all going for the AR picks. They're still bonusing, And so you can see we have the judges here we have 2 judges, 3 ARs, and it is a strategy that they've implemented more than once. If one of our ARs goes down, you drop the judge, you pick up the AR so that we don't lose those high damage dealing long-range weapons. God did pop the Blade Storm. We have Hunter's Fury also come out from the other side. God picks up 2. We have the lockdown just to give us a little bit of extra cover, but Goo and Trix will find the last 2 Broncos. I mean, the enemy team, all of the side of CSU in that round did have ARs, whereas the Broncos, yeah, you're working with 2 judges, 3 ARs. So 2 of your players have to be right in the enemy team's face to really find value. Of course, our Jett is capable of doing that. Omen, a little bit more capable as well. KO sometimes, but a KJ not so much. And so it really came down to the fact that there was extra long-range weaponry on the enemy team versus our squad, and God also popping that Blade Storm.
The big thing is the value that the Blade Storm brought to the equation here, because realistically, with those eliminations continuing to come through, the refresh on the Blades and the dash, mind you, put Boise State in a very uncomfortable position. They didn't know exactly where those dashes and repositions were, so it caused them this communication error of like, where are they at, allowing the other 2 to move in, and now they're playing aggressively again here. They want to get here very, very quickly. They don't want to give that window of opportunity as previously had by CSU. They're going to jump instantly onto Smokes, who's all alone in this small corridor, and now look to plant and both these angles to guarantee that they make this level 6. Oh, God's going to say otherwise.
Ooh, I was unaware that God had decided to pick up the operator. I mean, at this point in the game, it's pretty obvious that the Jets are going to do that. But Rihanna, I know you just went down, but beautiful flick over onto the enemy right there.
This is also something a little interesting because Boise State, more often than not, their post-plant strategies and ability to stifle their opponent from retaking this has always been a real strength of theirs. And these last few rounds, either getting to that post-plant or just in the act of getting to the post-plant has been a real challenge for them. The earlier fights when there is, let's say, a more weaponry type advantage, it's in their hands. But then when it's a little bit more on this even playing field, and the way that CSU is entering onto these engagements, it's causing some disconnect here. And I think that Boise State is starting to understand that, since they're like now looking to play a little bit more divided. They want to not just 5-player rush one site, and they want to bring a little bit more cleverness to their entrance.
I like that we've also left the spike over near B main, so this is Broncos doing a default push without spike, so no one goes down with it in a bad spot and forces us to have to go grab it while it's being completely looked at from every possible angle and the sky, so to speak. They force some util. They know there is 1 person, I believe actually 2 over on A site. We're going to pick up the spike finally. Going to have a commit over to B, pushing through towards market from mid. And there is the Omen ultimate. This could spell some doom for the Broncos if it's used to get in an advantageous position. I think it was just used to get info though. We have a baited off shot. Big Dame survives by the skin of their teeth, and honestly 80 health, so it wasn't that great of a shot.
Yeah, still partially in the shadows when the shot was taken. God finds another onto Maze. Nice recovery here by Big Dame, but this is the ballsy action. Looks for the reposition. Rihanna holding this rat kind of an angle, and the fact that you have the Sova changeover from Alden moving to this A position is extremely well done. They're going to block it with the smoke. I love this coordination. Boise State playing this a little bit more hesitantly on just rushing onto the point. They acknowledge that they need to swap sides and get this plant, and now can look to potentially even have a lurk here since they know they need to move in. And what a ballsy attempt, jumping into the smoke, and Alden is ready for it.
Honestly, the use of the ultimate to relocate coming out from Big Dame, amazing. Went in, used it, got intel, said there's no one here near a main near where the ult orb would be, and it gave the go-ahead green light for Alden to fully engage and commit. Then at that moment when they realized that our Omen had committed to the teleport, that is when the side of CSU decided they needed to make the rotation. They dropped down the KJ ultimate, but we had time, and the Broncos knew how much that resource bank was available. They got the plant and disengaged. No one got trapped, and then we have the beautiful cleanup onto that KJ at the very end.
Can I just say that Rihanna looked down the barrel of an op and said, "I don't care."
Yeah,
right
Guardian
here,
Gaming.
that op shot comes through and is like, "Nah, I have the Guardian, and I will make sure that I guard this position."
Guardian Gaming is phenomenal. I love it personally. With Rihanna picking up my personal favorite gun, I know I need to reevaluate my life choices, everyone, but I'm a Phantom enjoyer. So thank you, Riri. As Rihanna takes down God.
I'm also a Phantom gamer, so I'm right there with you. High five from a distance.
Yeah.
As we enter in now with 11-7 in the scoreline, Skies primed and ready. But this dash won't quite use it. Nice early takedown. And this is, I love this from Boise State. They have played round after round of blitzing, diving into these points, and now they play the patient game. They wait for this anxious aggression to come through from CSU, and they've fallen trapped to it. They're still one down, of course, by Boise State, but they've got the numbers advantage here. They can now look for this re-entry. They want to find a chance with this intel. The Killjoy turret they can see is gone against if they manage to eliminate them pushing into this. Now they just have to optimize their entry. The smoke's not really going to do too much since they've already entered and can look for this default plan.
Plan goes down. I mean, KO has command null, but you might want to hang on to it. We aren't in, you know, the make or break situation. I don't know how Aldum found Goo, but Aldum found him. And now we know where this KO is unfortunately at. Smokes does find Skies after breaking window, so Skies kind of gave a little bit of an audio cue. It's, of course, a very huge thing in the realm of Valorant. Currently, our Omen is sitting at, I believe, about 30 health. So if anyone's going to take a duel in a duo, it needs to be our Omen swing peeking with someone else and slightly in front of them to make sure that they take those bullets first and our other teammate can finish it up. Or our Omen just gets the better of the shots and gets that head tap immediately. Spike is ticking down. Unfortunately, Maze goes down to Smokes. A little KO on KO aggression. Disengaging now is Big Dame as well as Aldum. Both make it out of the realm of the Spike as it teleports everything over towards the Omega Earth.
Match point.
And again, this all just comes down to, you know, taking these early advantages. Same thing here with the positioning on top of Crate. If anybody moves out through high ground in heaven, they have to make sure that there are two individuals holding that angle. Whether they look down or they keep an eye on that upper position, it's not going to be advantageous for them. So now they're finding themselves on a match point here. This is the final opportunity for CSU to make a miraculous turnaround. But with what we've seen so far from Boise State, I wouldn't be surprised if they close this out here.
And it looks like we're returning to more of that blitz-style gameplay. Tailwind, updraft, both dedicated. Swarm grenades in mid. Circumvented by Skies using another combo of abilities. Jumps in, clears out majority of the angles. You see that the KJ is going to be backing off. We have null command getting dropped by CSU's KO, as is our null command from Broncos. But unfortunately, Maze goes down. Big Dame cleans up Smokes. And it does look like Rihanna will meet the Shadow Realm. Big Dame finds Stronius. Trick does find Big Dame. Aldum and God both trade. And unfortunately for the Broncos, that's another round over towards CSU. But it is still match point in favor of the Broncos.
The big part that worked so well for CSU was their quickness to respond to the position, because it wasn't all five from CSU that were there initially, but their reaction time from moving from the middle to opposing position to be able to flank and surround those angles to find crossfires onto Boise State was substantial. And the couple of really key covers, such as the smoke or even the Killjoy nano swarms that were really denying entry, I loved from CSU what they were able to do to keep this into extra rounds for them to try and close this gap.
And you touched on it earlier about how Aldum and Rihanna are typically huge players for the side of the Broncos, but I really got to give credit where it's due. Skies is one of my personal favorite people to watch. Jet was the first agent I ever tried to main, and Skies puts that bar so high, makes me feel like I can never get that good, but I love watching what Skies can do on this Jet. They come in, they've completely cleared out the right side, and we do hear the Hunter's Fury get popped. You can see where it's coming from, so it does give into Maze. I don't even want to talk about what just happened. But we also are going to drop our KJ ultimate. It does get destroyed. It's in a pretty standard spot from there. It took a little damage from the Hunter's Fury and then a Swarm Grenade coming out from the KO. So that Molly plus that damage from Hunter's Fury made it difficult to keep it alive. Spike, you can see, was half planted, so we have to pick it back up and do it all over again. 3v3 as God got a little too big for their britches and went down.
Yeah, just got to play this safe now. Be very cognizant of the angles. Nice reposition with a turret as well. Dropping it early enough so that they can have that purpose plan. Nice angle again. They don't get checked, but there's still a trade. Numbers advantage now, and both swing out at the same time, so there's no way that all of them can react effectively to this, and that's another round for CSU to combat against this. And now we have to take a look at the economy here, because that's back-to-back rounds that Boise State was not able to take this. So this is a perfect position for CSU to look for the long haul. Most likely not going to be able to take the advantage here on Boise State because they're at the deficit. CSU can play a lot more defensively and calm in this, knowing that they have the weaponry advantage. That gets them to another round. Then they can see if you want to have a full commit going in or a force buy after this round, which then could potentially lead to another. Everything is starting to fall in place, and CSU just has to play this perfectly.
Defeated.
Lots of intel gathered from the dart as well as that suppressed knife. It looks like Rihanna is going on an adventure, clearing out all of Catwalk. Did take damage from the KJ turret, so KJ was either mid-rotation, not far enough away, or was still posted up, and unfortunately taking those shots. God has rotated back, takes down Rihanna. Skies is going to grab the ult orb, but it's far off of getting that Blade Storm. The only thing we have is Hunter's Fury. CSU LA does have their Blade Storm online. Equal as far as agent power right now, I think. Forcing out CSU, almost what CSU was doing to the Broncos, trying to bait them out, get them to come forward and play into the welcoming arms of the Broncos firing squad is what the side of the Boise State team needs to do. They've got 45 seconds, so CSU is more like, we can sit and wait and make you come to us.
Nice chip. Skies goes in aggressively, but Trix gets two. Big Dame and Skies line up, so that is an easy two-piece. And now, that is just a real challenge, and everything starts to fall in suit, like I mentioned. And these next two rounds have to be, not only, it's basically both teams have to play perfect. And I know that's such a ridiculous thing to say in some respects, but everything's been set up. The ball has been teed up for CSU. They've come back at a very critical moment in these later rounds, taken advantage of the this partial buy that Boise's had to do for 2 rounds now. They finally get their weaponry picked back up with partial armor even, and they're committing into this and have 2 ultimates. They need to make this work now, because if they lose this round, CSU has a very viable chance to make this go into extra innings.
One suppressed.
Rihanna posted up by Fish Market, does take some chip damage. I think actually no, completely avoided that shock dart. Has their turret up to act as an intel gatherer and take a little bit of extra damage. Skies is going to engage the tailwind, gets through in towards Market. It's going to get paranoid. Oh, I thought that was the enemy kit Omen for a moment. I was like, no way, but it was our Omen. We do see we lose Rihanna, our spike holder. That is tragic because we did have someone to follow up. We now are down 2. Return Big Dame out of the find goo and smoke, but there's that Blade Storm again that God has been absolutely oppressive with. Takes down Skies, does get taken out right after by Big Dame because of course there really isn't any form of spray transfer when it comes to using the knives. Now it is just up to this KJ who has their ultimate on lockdown, right? For the lockdown, has it, can put it on the other side of house if they choose to do so, which could make it a little hard for the Broncos to do anything about it.
I mean, I really want to see this from the shadows. I think Big Dame's going to need to potentially use it if they want to lock this down to look for an off angle, because now they're in the lockdown. Hunter's Fury going to force multiple members back and is taking a risky shot because they know where that centralized position is. They take the swap into the weapon. It's not there, and now it's only 45 HP left. Big Dame has the chance to make a play of a lifetime here. CSU remaining. Can't quite get it! The swing comes in. Trix gets the pickup and puts it only a 1-round deficit with CSU looking for that overtime option.
I'm going to be completely honest. Really, Trix has been a playmaker. They're not the top frag right now for CSU. However, Trix has picked up those double kills off screen, off of where we're looking, but they play so patiently. They set up their turret. They know how to gather the intel. They know how to force someone into a corner and make them back off and be afraid. And Trix uses that to their advantage. They're like, oh, here's my turret. Let it do a little chip damage. Now you have to disengage. Guess what? I'm walking into your face. It's either me or the turret. Pick your poison.
Beautifully done by CSU, as we're looking to potentially get into that next one and see how they're going to do that, since we did just get the clutch. And it's really, because I would love to see what the score screen's going to look like, because if I remember correctly from the previous round, it was a force buy on that. They had everything that they possibly could with the 2 light armor packs. So now Boise State, I don't think they're going to have enough to be able to get a full buy, which is the hardest place to be right now when you are not wanting this to go into extra rounds. And CSU taking this many back-to-back gives them that morale boost that they need to be able to take this round and make it an even 12-12.
Truthfully, I think the Broncos have to do their best this round, but know that they're playing for overtime at this point. Like, they are at a gun disadvantage. They're at economy disadvantage. And the only thing that's going to put them on an equal playing field is going to be that overtime. As much as it sucks, as much as it's terrible to have to win, you know, back-to-back attack and defense, it is doable. Lots of utils going to get dumped over here to back a B site. We hear the Omen from the enemy team drop his ult, gather some intel, tells everyone, I know where the Broncos are at, but I couldn't overstay my welcome.
Well, the biggest challenge now is you've seen 4 smokes committed to B. So there is no more util that can be put into this to try and slow the momentum coming out from CSU. It is a disadvantage, yes, in numbers for them. Looking at this flanking position. Rihanna taking the wide angle, gets picked up by Tricks, but there's still a takedown on the front side. CSU left to 1, Big Dan gets 2, Skies finalizes the takedown and ensures that this is not going to go into extra innings, and they will be able to take this map of Ascent.
And just a quick reminder to everyone that's watching, the Idaho Army National Guard is a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. Top plays are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering $20,000 in bonuses and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out to them on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. All right, so we had what I would consider the meta picks on both sides for these teams going into Ascent. I adore Ascent. I adore both of those team picks. Of course, I am a Sage main, so I'm like, meta? What's meta? Sage. Sage. I'm going to lock down meta Sage. It's fine.
Always Sage.
But
Always
with that
Sage,
being
yeah.
said, is there any map that you think, because the Broncos show a little bit of weakness on it, that CSU might want to pick going into Game 2?
I mean, they could look to want to change the tables a little bit. For whatever reason, Icebox kind of is something that flares in my mind, where you can take a little bit of a differentiation in composition, where you can have alternative agents that work in maybe playing those angles, and also that slower type of methodology can lead into their strengths. Because even when it came to both their attack and defense from CSU is a more passive team. They are not a green means go, pedal to the metal type of style that Boise State has really developed into over the time that we've watched them play. And I think that that might offer them a little bit more of a chance because of the types of angles that you can play. There's a lot more elevated positions that you can have, some decent angles or crossfire that can come through. It makes Boise have to force a lot more checks, which can leave them vulnerable. So those are things that just at least are apparent that I could think of if they wanted to go into that potential map selection of what we have in the pool.
I was thinking either that or possibly going over towards Split, just because it is, again, a map that offers a little bit more versatility. You don't have to exactly be playing a mirror matchup, and it can force the Broncos into a more disadvantaged situation. But with that being said, I do believe we're going to take a quick break, so we can grab some water, the players can grab some water, and we'll be back here in just a few minutes. So don't go anywhere. We'll have more C-Val here momentarily.
Growing up in Riggins, we have certain rules we live by. Look both ways before crossing the street. Fishing stories get better the more you tell them. Small town life makes your life anything but small. Never work alone when you go hunting. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
Home is where you hang your hat, snuggle up, hide out. Home is when you're with the ones you love. It isn't just a place, it's a state of mind. At Idaho Central Credit Union, our home is Idaho. We grew up here, and we're proud to help more Idahoans with their home loan than any other financial institution. Idaho Central Credit Union. We believe home is where you make it. Coast Central Credit Union, looking after your daily balance.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our coverage of CVAL. Tonight we are watching CSU LA take on the Broncos, both teams in a winner-take-all, at least for the opportunity to go to the playoffs for CVAL. 32 teams began their journey, and tonight we are shining the spotlight on these two. So far, Broncos are in the lead, finishing out on ascent at 13-11. After losing multiple rounds back-to-back, they managed to rally and bring it back in their favor. Now, before the break, I discussed with Rich Red here on broadcast what map the side of CSU LA might want to pick going into Game 2 to give themselves more of an advantage. And I did just receive word, your guess was actually 100% correct.
Yes! Yes! I looked into my crystal ball, and I was so excited. Every once in a while, I can, be able to actually foresee what is going to happen. But again, that's like I said before we even went on to the break, those are the kind of things that I was thinking about. You're bringing in alternative agents that, again, we don't really have to see mirrored, or there's playing to strengths. They have a lot more corners and angles that they can really lean into to try and catch Boise State's aggression off guard. And it's allowing so much more viability to put Boise State in a position to not have to throttle. They're just going to have to be a little bit more methodical on their entry, how they look to try and provide cover for themselves, and the amount of utility that you could potentially expend on entry, specifically more so on attack, because that can be a real challenge, I think, for Boise State. And we'll see if CSU is going to be able to hit the win con for them going into this next map.
Yeah, I mean, Icebox in particular tends to be like a love-hate. You either love that map or you hate it, and a lot of the Broncos personally hate it. I personally love it, so I'm an outlier over here, but that's totally fine. That being said, Rich, you've said some fantastic things, but of course we have to listen to the one and only Doc Haskell's advice for our players when they're about to jump into Icebox in the form of Doc's keys to the game. And for Valorant, those are focus angles and flanks, know your win condition, count cards, call abilities, and click heads. Doc's keys to the game are brought to us today by Drop-In Gaming. Drop-In Gaming is the premier online platform for gamers who seek competition. Play your favorite games to win cash and prizes through free and paid entry matches and tournaments. Whether you're new to the scene or a seasoned veteran, Drop-In Gaming has the right games and competition for you. Sign up to begin your competitive journey today at dropingaming.com. So, as we jump into Icebox, we're not going to reveal the agent selections or anything like that. Do you have any sort of assumptions as to what the Broncos are going to be doing here?
I mean, Icebox being, like you mentioned, the one that they typically don't look to lean into, from at least the couple of times that I've casted specifically this squad, I've not seen Icebox as much. So when it comes to their actual agent selection, I'm more curious to see what it's going to actually look like myself. So as we do finally hop into it, the Viper, of course, was the one that I know that many have leaned into. We can already see through the sound of your voice. We don't have you live on stream at the moment, but we can tell from the giddiness of the Sage that's in the lineup that you're really excited about, despite, feelings, is we're going to now be actually able to see what kind of value that's going to attribute to this. Also, the Reyna, that's just falling into the type of methodology that Boise is. Green means go. I want to throttle. I need to get these trades, and I'm going to continue to build up towards this Empress.
Truthfully, this lineup of agents that the Broncos have selected here, the turret, I mean, it allows for taking a little bit extra damage. It gives you intel, On defense, it can be a really big thing that pushes back enemies. Or Sky, this Reyna gives you Leers, which after the buff for the Leers, which just anyone who looks at it, you are blinded. Versus the Jet on the side of the CSU, that swap over, Reyna just provides so much of an oppressive force when it comes to these engages, and it's just one ability they have to expel. They don't have to put a cloud smoke. Our Jet doesn't have to dash away. That's why I think the Broncos picked the more advantageous comp here. Plus we have those slows from the Sage. And then the standard just wall right here, walk in, get the plant. It locks down that entire angle. You're not going to take damage in it. We're going to use the Viper from the enemy team is going to drop double util onto it, but that is damage over time that is recalled because it's just a DK, which is huge. And the sustain for the Broncos, I think, is much stronger in this instance.
Nice pickup, though. There is an elimination. The wall not bringing as much coverage across that whole span, so there is a little bit more room to work with as they rotate around. Aldum gets an elimination to gain this opportunity of equalizing. Still a 3 versus 2. Nice hold on to yellow box, but gets picked up through the smoke. Rihanna, we've seen some stellar plays before, drops the turret. Denies accessibility, and actually going to keep maintaining this position, hoping that they walk into it, gets the pickup, and that's going to be Rihanna taking this pistol round and starting to league out with dominance.
That was tragic. Rihanna, unfortunately, was taken over to Omega Earth, but that's okay.
Just overall well done, though. Really, really heads-up play here coming out towards the end of it. You had CSU with a 3 versus 2 advantage. It was always consistently finding value. The fact that you had the turret timer come back up after repositioning it was super stellar, too, because that's going to force this rotation around the flanking angle. And again, assuming that since the turret was placed to the right-hand side of box, that would lead you to believe that Ruriata wants to play the left side since they're covered, but actually leans into that and finds a great opportunity to put even more pressure onto Shrone. And they can't get this trade.
And we have more Broncos pushing into A site than we did earlier. Previously, we had a slight default push, partially through mid, partially through A, but it looks like we just have 2 posted up to prevent a flank coming from B long, which is pretty standard where a lot of people like to rotate through to come in basically towards spawn and then come from the back of the point. As far as defenders trying to retake, Broncos are now going to be utilizing 4v4, but Rihanna with this Bulldog peppers some damage down, doesn't find anyone, doesn't get any target indicators, and now the Broncos are rotating.
Haunting back to B as they have before. Nice wall to deny all 3 openings. Great positioning and tech as we've seen many a times from Boise State. Doing the default plant as they have before with the wall, so they guarantee this angle. Now they just need to be very cognizant of this potential lurk that could come through, and they're going to keep Rihanna there to make sure they have it covered.
I mean, personally, that Sage play right there with the wall followed up by the plant right next to it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We see it used not only by the Broncos, but other teams as well. But Smokes is going to take down the Skies. Sage wall is starting to go down. It's extremely broken on the middle pillar. And press forward tragically there for Trix will be their undoing. Rihanna, Maze, as well as Skies cleaning up everything that was left.
Despite Boise State not liking this map, they're playing it very well. They really, really do understand how they want to enter into this, and they have really found much dominance looking towards this B site. But I would be curious to see if they want to change it up right now, opt to go for A, play a little bit of mind games, make CSU feel that they're going to run it again, or they can just continue to hit what they're strong with. And this default plant and this strategy that they've been utilizing has yet to be broken. So as you mentioned earlier, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Deploying drone.
And we do see that our Viper inside the Broncos has been putting up the Viper wall right away, early. No matter which side the Broncos are looking to move forward to and gain intel from, it's always in the same spot, so it can't be used as a predictor for what the Broncos are looking to do, which is a great play being made by the side of Maze going into these fights. Oh, they broke that wall very fast. Now is a time where we could say that it is kind of broken. Now we need to start fixing it. Possibly going for the double slow onto A site when the Broncos are done bonusing like we are right now, and they have those ARs. You can bid a slow onto the back A site from one to the left side of the A site as well. Your team to get an easy quick pick could be the solution to that busted problem, but right now Skies finds Trix. Broncos still down by 1 agent, and our Viper is extremely hurt.
Yeah, and the spike out in the open is going to be so challenging to get to at this point. They're walking into
so much and is just unfortunately not able to find a stable footing to regain that spike to rotate to the opposing side. So that will be a round take here by CSU, able to get a number onto the board. And this is where you finally see Boise State opt to play towards that A site, which realistically, I think that CSU is going to be ready for this. They're going to know that they've been able to outmatch Boise State on this B position. They'll look to try and split themselves to play a little bit more towards A. And now we really see how this almost game of chess starts to unfold when it comes to their pawns moving in.
We have a smoke being placed over by 2 towards the under area where there is that place that players can walk through, possibly looking to get attention. Didn't work. Maze finds
Nice
God,
trade.
who's posted up in this front nest. I don't think there was anyone else from CSU posted up. They have multiple swarm grenades. Raze is forced to blast pack out. Only one expelled. We also, oh, there's the double blast pack. So Raze is now gone and backing off. There's still an opportunity for the side of CSU to sweep through this high ground, which is exactly what they're looking to do. And have shock darts land onto Aldum. Cronus goes down. Goo finds Aldum. Big Dame does find Goo. And it's just the Viper left standing for the side of CSU LA.
Yeah, it became really challenging to recover from this, since again Boise State got that early takedown onto the front line position. Nice stagger angle on this for Rihanna to take that trade advantage, since they have the numbers advantage. 3-1 right now. Again, Boise State playing extremely well onto this, and those multiple things and situations that I was talking about for, you know, an opportunity for CSU to play into, taking these angles, taking these advantages. Now they're actually playing too far forward. That Jet was left vulnerable, looking for that trade, not having the best of angles, and now is just left vulnerable again, always at this disadvantage.
Broncos lost enough to know that they are done bonusing, and it's time to make a decision. Start playing more into their own favor. Here, Blade Storm from God get popped. CSU God has been absolutely oppressive with these Blade Storms, taking multiple kills. They're the first of what could be many. They do go down to Rihanna. Smokes will clean up Rihanna, so that's a trade in favor of CSU, as the initial Blade Storm kill was not traded out. Alden's going to take some damage, finds Tricks. Now we're equalized, and that extra heal that the Sage provides, plus Reyna with overheal. The sustain, as I mentioned earlier, is just stronger right now for the Broncos. And here comes the red. Broncos now leading by 1.
Them leading by 1. They're going to have to rotate back out of this, seeing where they want to enter. They were patient and not allowing themselves to get too overzealous so that they do leave that spike vulnerable on takedown. And at this point, I like the fact that they're going to emphasize A. They're going to try and hold this angle, and it's really up to now CSU rotating with a swiftness to make sure they take these angles and they don't even check it. So that now just leans in even more heavily into the opportunity of Boise State taking this.
Smokes with the Sheriff, finds the head of Big Dame. Now we're in a 3v2. I think Sage should have their own heal online soon, and will be able to heal up before a full engage happens. But it is really up to Skies to prevent that engage. Takes down Smoke. See the dart come in. That tells Skies where that Tronus was standing. The Sova goes down right after Skies identified where they were at. Might be able to actually see a replay of what just went down. Now we're going to see the initial peek through. That was just unlucky. Smokes cleaned up Big Dame in return. But this one right here, preventing our Sage from taking damage, and then seeing the recon dart where it came from, gave Skies the go button. That was what Skies was looking for.
And you can just feel that hesitation moment after that first pick comes through, and you've got the Sova chilling in the corner, like saying, uh-oh, well, this is going to be interesting. That goes out in front of Skies and just can't get the gunplay, as there's 4 ultimates now available for Boise State, and feeling really confident entering into this. They know that they can put a lot if they really want to in this, since they have the numbers advantage when it comes to these rounds. Nice intel gathered to know that they're already starting to play back. The Reyna with that satchel potentially going to maneuver back out, as we've seen before. Trick's just not even paying attention at all on the catwalk, trying to hold that angle, but nobody's watching the crossfire. And now the Viper's pin is committed. That's all you're going to need here, as you see shots whizzing by to the opposite of CSU. And they just have to walk openly into the toxins and hope that they are not going to be with the air around them. You can hear the chanting in the background from the players, if I'm not mistaken either.
Yeah,
they're going to be
you were
able to
100%
dominate on this
correct. I
position.
apologize.
No, don't apologize. That's the best kind of feeling when you have them that excited, taking out dominance in this 4 versus 2. The Viper's pit still an issue. Furion gonna hold this top angle. That Marshall shot goes wide, grazing potentially just the side of the angle, and now you've got an op able to eliminate, but the time's already there. They can't even get in. They're so far away that they just have to let this go.
Broncos win another round, putting them 5-1. That is not a scoreboard that if you are a CSU LA fan you want to be seeing. However, are we going to see a repeat of what happened over on Ascent? Are the Broncos going to start getting a little bit overzealous and getting too, playing too many blitzes and not taking their time and waiting things out, looking for util, looking for advantageous opportunities? And are we going to see multiple rounds lost in a row? That is my question as we go into the second half of, well, the second quarter here in this first half.
It's looking dire for CSU because the way that they've been playing strategy, looking on a reverse position of attack, it's going to be tough because Boise State, with this type of aggression and it not being punished, is really detrimental to the bigger picture here. They jump between the smokes to leave themselves vulnerable for a shot on the high ground. Everything just starts to fall to the wayside, and CSU is left at the disadvantage again just because of these really unfortunate micro plays that don't benefit them.
Maze holding out underneath to held them posted against their own wall, kind of stuck between a cold place and a hard place, so to speak.
I was wondering how you were going to take that one. I was so excited.
Oh, never walk in a straight line with only looking at one angle. Exhibit A.
And now it's only one that remains. At this point, it'd probably be most optimal for CSU to play it back, hold on to whatever weaponry that they have available to themselves. And you can just see Maze is going to go searching for it, potentially to stifle, again, their economy. Can't quite find the takedown, but, talking back into it, it's just those really, really subtle micro plays. And I know that there are, mistakes and things that can happen, but it's little things like that that really cost so much to it. You have double smoke cover. You don't need to jump in occasions like that. It's those little things that we really have to hyper-focus on as we're going to have the timeout, which is absolutely necessary. There needs to be some communication because this is a map pick that CSU is supposed to feel extremely comfortable in, and a map that we haven't typically seen go too much for Boise State because it's not really a map that they particularly like to play on, but they're still playing it extremely well. They have such great strategies going into it, and they're able to just consistently put their opponent off guard, and they can really just run the room right now with their ultimate rotation that they've continued to have each round.
Well, one thing that's really important to point out is that these players, the way that, Doc and Coach Moore prep them is, I understand they will understand that they hate this map, but that does not give you the right to also suck at the map that you hate. So you have to be prepared to go against a team that is going to use the map that you hate the most because they're gonna scout you. They're gonna see, hey, the Broncos don't play Icebox very often. Let's prep Icebox. Let's pull it out against them as their ace in the hole. The Broncos are going to anticipate that. So yeah, they may hate Icebox, but it doesn't mean that they're going to just roll over and let you take it.
Who's going to roll over and let you scrub your belly? Who's going to do that? Not us. Sorry, not happening. As we do look to see that there are 2 ultimates still online for Boise State. Leaning into A, as you do have some potential intel. Not going to get anything. The showstopper active. Ooh, it gets 1. And this is the aggression that CSU needs to do. They need to try and play dominantly to at least catch Boise off guard. And this is the first strides in that right direction.
What was interesting is that we popped that Empress as that showstopper went off, and we saw our Reyna back off like, oh no, I'm not going to take this trade. I'm not going to be the one to go down to the showstopper, which they did. However, they were shortly there picked off, and Broncos still down 2. They made 1 trade, but they need to find another kill without losing an agent here. Rihanna's pushed in. Maze finds Goo, but we did lose Aldum in that moment. So again, not a trade. We are at a disadvantage. We do see the KJ lockdown is gone, but it forced back all the Broncos out of detain. That is intel in itself. It tells CSU that they backed off. They're either going to re-engage or rotate through mid. So most likely, we have someone posted up on left side towards the mid area. Exactly, right there, looking for someone to push through or come in from the mid side, and it was Trix to find Rihanna.
Just unfortunate gunplay trading
30
there.
seconds left.
Couldn't quite find the mark. Maze now with the spike gonna look to take this second time around. No one's there. Oh, they probably think that it might have been taken all the way to the outside and swapped to B, but doesn't actually quite get the plant here.
No.
Didn't commit fully.
Maze
Now in the back. Few
10
seconds
seconds
left. I wonder if it was a bait to make them think it was somewhere else on that B site, but now they've been sought out. They couldn't get it fast enough. The recon bolt is there.
There's no time.
Oh no, it's one of those moments where you should have just committed. At this point, you're just gonna have to leave it be. Sometimes you drop the ball, and that time that ball didn't even bounce.
Twice. The first time that Maze started to plant, they should have just stuck it. You will hear me reiterate this phrase 100 times in a Valorant broadcast, and I apologize if I'm a broken record, but pros, stick it. Pros, do not fake.
Zero your brigade, but pros stick it. Zero your brigade. I'll beat the broken record for
Thank
you because of my age. But as we're gonna now look with this next round, still a 6-2 advantage. That's unfortunate. They're gonna see that they have intel on 2, I believe, now before they can eliminate that. So there is some knowledge to this A position. A couple of pings as well,
What's interesting
but
for
instantly shut down.
we had Aldum commit the slow orb onto the ultimate orb, and typically what I see some stages do is look to actually use that pillar on the right side to bounce it to the left of the ult orb, so that, yeah, someone's grabbing it. Guess what? If they try to disengage to the cover that is provided by that left area, that left angle, they get slowed and are easily picked off. But instead, with back rotation after dumping that util onto A side, we lose 2, and we are on a save round right now for the Broncos. Hunter's Fury is committed to try to prevent this default plant. This is where having the Sage play is a little bit rough, because there really is only 1 or 2 ways to do this, and it is very counterable. You have to learn to work around these issues. Honestly, a big pushing kitchen might have been the best bet, because we had judges in hand.
There was a lot of duck, dodge, diving, and dipping there to get that potential plant, but at this point it's still been denied. The res is critical right now to make it a 3 for 3, and with so much being committed into this, the util, the smokes, the nanos, everything, this gives a perfect window of opportunity to re-enter for this post-plant. It's a 1-for-1 trade, so you're not out of the storm just yet, but Aldum getting that pickup onto smokes is such a necessary takedown, followed up instantly after due to the weaponry advantage. The pickup came through, so there was a chance to recontest, but unfortunately does not persevere.
Aldum can dodge a wrench and dodge a ball as well as bullets, that is for sure.
Yes! So glad when people get my references to old movies.
I adore dodgeball.
It's such a good one. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody!
Alright, let's see what the Broncos plan to do here. I really think we need to give up the ghost on this B-site wall plant strat. It's getting countered. Honestly, I think possibly looking for a mid-push, going through tube, getting control of kitchen, something like that. Not just these full out of CT, going wide, going to the point. It's just allowing too much time for adjustment right now for the side of CSU. Right now we're 7-2. We're getting close to the end of the half, and we already lost Julian in the smokes with just a share of Sky finds the trade, gets goo. Now we're equal.
Oh, Skies. And this is where the Reyna excels. You're taking the chip damage. You can continue to find these just optimal positions to outplay your opponent. Going to have the Lear up top to deny vision. Finally gets punished in the mix of this, and now there's a numbers advantage. The spike has been regained, and now it's abandoned ship time. I'd love to see this massive rotation from Boise State to go back to B, as CSU is going to look to potentially be here, or they could hesitate to go for a fake and see if they do rotate, believing that it is going to be.
All right, we got Big Dame with the spike this time. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, what a shot!
That was a hard attack for me. My anxiety is a little too high to deal with that, but I appreciate Aldum living. It's amazing to find the pick and to get the lurker. Down goes God. It is just the Viper standing. I mean, yeah, the Viper could rush in and pop hit over the spike to try and get it for a defuse, but as soon as you start hearing that defuse, anticipating they're probably going to stick it, you just keep pinging it and keep shooting it. I mean, the Viper can't do anything in that instance, so most likely this Reyna's either going to A, save, B, go in for an exit frag.
Maze being the MVP right now. Big Dame is probably wiping sweat from their brow. And you can just acknowledge in this moment that Maze was like, don't worry, fam.
You may be swapping weaponry from that shock bolt and recon bolt, but I got you on that high ground. This is it right here. That's the side angle you see. 31 HP, and you feeling the tension. That's one of those moments where your heart skips a beat, and you're like, thanks, bro. Thanks, man.
And then for Maze to anticipate that the Jet was flanking, just to get that, I'm just gonna look, and finds the head, takes them out, incredible. Now Broncos 8-2, 2 rounds left in this half. CSULA is looking to win both of these rounds because going into the second half, 8-4 is much better than 10-2.
Oh my goodness! That's a killing spree. Keep it going, Big Dame. That's where you're needing to recover. You said, Maze, you covered my butt. Now I'm going to just go ahead and pop off. And we can just get this easy plant 3 versus 2. Even looking at it say, yeah, I took you down. What are you going to do about it, little hologram?
Big Dame with a 3-piece combo, going to trying to get the last 2. Can I get the whole chicken? Can I get the ace? Is Big Dame's question right now. Of course, like I said earlier, we don't care about aces, but they always look good. They make you feel good.
They want the whole rotisserie. They don't want they don't want the lips. They want the whole thing. You have Maze gonna say, nah, don't worry about it. We're gonna contribute as well, friend. We ain't gonna let you have that ace. I'm still gonna be showing off the value that I bring as now we enter into the last round before the swap of sides. And Boise State has made a statement going into a map selection from CSU.
We saw the
Nobody
unfortunate whiff that we had on, on the poison orb coming out. That was funny. And then
I see nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was all calculated. Trying to pull some attention, it baited forward those 3 people to think that there was a mid-rotation. Maze, it was all in the cards. You executed it perfectly.
Now,
Alright, attempt number 2 at Empress.
Yep. This time around, no one able to completely shut it out. Quarter of the way of the time for Empress still dissipated as Ruriana's on the opposing side with the rest of the team for the spike. Leading in with only a couple of util items. Skies gets one in the Empress, so that could potentially lead them to believe that A is the point of aggression. So Aldem and the rest of the squad might have a beautiful chance to get a free plant here.
Skies is going through mid, has walked down into 2, posted up, trying to see if anyone... Ooh, we've traded who has to be the sacrificial lamb against the wall, and it was our KJ, who now has lockdown. Empress should be expiring relatively soon. There goes lockdown. We might see an expel of some slows. Boombot was dropped. Didn't do much of anything. Easily eviscerated as well. Big Dame and
wow!
Maze go down to a double shock dart kill. That's incredible.
You don't get to see that every day. And this is instantly turned on its head. CSU gets another advantage during the reload. Ruriana, we've seen some miraculous plays. But at this point now, you're just looking to do what you can because you know the swap of sides is occurring. That will be a point win here for CSU, but still a tall mountain to climb as it is a 9-3 before the half.
Switching sides.
9-3 is much better than 10-2. If I were CSU, I'd be like, I'll take it.
What must be done?
This is definitely a map that, even after some of the changes that they made, it seems like it tends to favor defense. So going into the offensive, hopefully CSULA has something up their sleeve that we've not seen before, or they completely flip their playstyle on its head and they plan to play very, forward aggressive, taking strong angles, forcing util early and bringing down the Broncos at their own game.
I'm hoping so. They need to. Like, that's the thing, is the other challenge is you're going to meet aggression with aggression. Like, you're going to see if CSU plays extremely forward, Boise State's going to do the same. And then it's really just going to be a firefight to see who gets the early advantage. Recon Bolt out early by A. What a couple of decent body shots here for free onto the Rays.
I'm all about the ghost.
Right here.
We all about that ghost, You're hidden. As there's some intel gained, you got the couple of shock darts around the corner. No one yet in a position to plant, but there is full knowledge that this is a hit.
We had the Viper Wall get committed onto A site to make it harder for anyone to engage forward through it, but it looks like CSULA is not giving up. We have Sage walking over towards 2. Looking like they're gonna go underneath and walk by as we have double blast packs. Maze takes some damage, 45 health. They're okay. Finds 2, finds 3. Can they find a 4th and maybe a 5th? Oh, Trix.
Nice play through the smoke.
That is where that frenzy comes very scary. If you are able to get super close to someone and take them down, there is like that close range of the frenzy, the rate of fire is just absolutely ferocious. And there is the post plant onto the spike, making it difficult for the side of the Broncos to come in. They waited for that snake bite to go down. Maze,
Stick it!
Oh! Maze, you should have just stuck it!
It was close. I would almost want to do like a replay timer on my own to go back and look at that because it would have been dicey. And again, it's one of those moments where, because you had 22 HP, you're at the disadvantage, you're hit by the toxin, you might as well play it. But, you know, to each their own. And this is one of those moments where patience is a virtue. Even though you had Maze get this great pickup on 3, it's still just this well thought out strategy from CSU. It works well for them in this initial round on the attack. And let's see if that continues, or they're going to be able to play this peaks and valleys type of momentum.
UCLA is on their bye round. They should have Spectres, maybe some Stingers coming out. We see Boom Bots. We know at least someone's chilling over near A main. Trix with a 3-piece. Yeah. Oh, that is tragic. Don't know what happened over there. Someone didn't check their angles. God finds Maze. And unfortunately, our Maze would go beat Billy Maze in heaven.
Yeah. Billy Maze, if anything, get knocked out fully, as we're going to be... I mean, to be fair, though, again, this is an eco round for Boise State. They weren't able to take the first one. I like at least the attempt for a very aggressive rotation to try and maybe get the advantage, but Trix is right there ready for it. Doesn't rely solely on the defensive turret with the Killjoy. They're going to stand their ground, hold that angle, manages to get 3. Now we look to something a little bit more even keel, where there is some opportunity to counteract against what CSU is going to bring into this. And again, that's what still leads into their methodology. They like to play this a little slower and see if Boise's going to walk into the Lion's Den. And it's moments like those that they can take advantage of it. But with this even exchange of weaponry, I'm curious if it's going to yield the same value.
Truly, I want to see the Broncos wait for CSU LA to come into them. Last round, they walked into the open arms of the beast. And Trix is, as you mentioned, one who is not undeterred by the sight of other people coming near them. They do not care that they have a turret. They'll put it down and play with it. Blue Skies to Schronis with the Bulldog. We have just some pepper damage coming in from Rihanna from mid. Sky. We have our Sage posted up still on B site, which is smart. Possibly someone's going for a long rotation over there to get a plant where there's no aggro. Anticipating most of the Broncos are still on A site. But we need to start thinking about a rotation here soon, and where that rotation is. It can be mid, it's going to be playing, but right now, mid, you stay over there, I got this. And Alden's like, okay, I'm coming through mid, let me pick up the last one, and find Trix.
Maze being like, thank you, sir, may I have another? As you're going to see them look to just wait patiently, hold this angle, nobody checks it, and by the time they do, there's still that high ground angle coming out from Big Dame, just waiting for them in the back line. Beautifully done by Boise State, and they feel really confident being able to take that now that they are on an even gunplay game.
The last tournament I casted, I said check your angles, it's really important. There's a highlighted clip of where I just completely stopped talking, and I'm like, and this is why you check your angles, and a person gets a 3-piece right there. No one looked at him as 3 people walked through an entryway, and that is another example of it.
Did you highlight it and like pin it to your Twitter? Because I'd love that. That's all your main pin is. May's now going to play aggressively into their smoke, knowing that there is a massive outplay coming through. Nobody's ready for it. So they get 2 for their consequences of a loss of 1. Boise State now in full control of this with 2-player advantage and just looking to see who's got that spike and where they're going to look to re-enter.
3-2 and looking to get a spike plant. I mean, you can anticipate you're at least, theoretically speaking, if you play the numbers game, and that is how you want to do this, you're always going to be in a 2-on-2 situation because there's one enemy come out. And the fact that CSULA is holding their ground here was their own on. Oh my gosh, Big Dame, stop showing off to me. I get it. holding their ground here.
Flex.
And the longer that they stood there, the worse the situation was going to get. There was 4 people still standing for the Broncos, and them not rotating, not trying to force anyone to move out of the way, so to speak, and committing to the A site push and standing there was their own undoing, because that meant the Broncos were going to surround and conquer them like they did.
I do have to say that samurai sword is pretty legit. Also, didn't notice until like just now, like the 2 glaring eyes in the reflection as it pulls in front of your face. Little details like that. You know, you learn something every day. As we're going to be learning how much of a close game this was in the first round, but not so much on Icebox, because you do have Aldum looking to try and maintain mid position for up the ramp, and at this point, still waiting patiently. CSU finally opting to go towards B the first time on this attacking position. Skies gets the value, free firing through the wall, and is just having the time of their life.
One enemy remaining.
They are
Spike down.
unstoppable right now.
Elevator going up, absolutely, as they get that flawless round. And now are on a match point. This is where they want to close it out, call it a day, and be able to put themselves in this position to play over the weekend.
And hopefully not have to come back to Icebox.
I mean, at this point, they're still looking good on it despite that.
Of course, but if you don't like the map, it always makes you just a little bit jaded when you have to play it.
Right here.
Yeah, I could see that.
If anything, though, that little extra anger makes you play better.
They're just like, we want to get this over with. Let's just take them down.
You should run.
A couple of blades go whizzing by. You can hear the sound here. As the Killjoy activates the lockdown. Nice early shot, a 1-for-1 trade. Big name getting a little big for the britches. As a big showstopper comes in on the satchel. So now it's a numbers advantage for CSU.
Yeah, numbers advantage for CSU because this is the end-all, be-all, but I don't know if dropping Showstopper, Blade Storm, and Lockdown all at once for a glimmer of hope in this round, or, you know, dropping 2 might have been better. We do have the Viper ultimate as well, and saving that for the next round is advantageous here. I'm really, really hoping that they do. As God picks up the 3rd kill, and the final one for this round. Now, CSU LA showing a little bit signs of life, not really going to break the economy just yet for the Broncos. Able to... Of course, Big Dame. With that being said, Broncos are still able to full buy. They're even able to buy an Odin. But they have the Empress. They have the Viper's Pit. We have Hunter's Fury and Viper's Pit for the side of UCLA. They're really wanting to take this A site. Without anyone in the form of, you know, a Sage, you can't... taking over B site is a little bit more difficult. I mean, yes, you have the Viper, but you really have to play smart with the Viper to get B site control when you're going into an enemy Sage.
The big part of this is the one time that CSU would want to try and play a little bit slower, it's right now. Because if they get the Viper Pit out early, they can really lean into the opposing position to try and take the advantage elsewhere. But there is some hesitancy by Boise State. They don't want to commit this early so that they don't find themselves... Nice read! Only gets 1, though, for their troubles up in kitchen. As we do have a 4 versus 3. Aldum going to hold this over by box. Has so many different angles to be aggressed on, though, which is a real challenge here. Does have knowledge of up top, but can't quite get the Odin to land. Will not strike. And now it's only a final maze remaining. And unfortunately, that is going to be another round take here by CSU. And it's a deja vu moment where we have Boise State set on a match point, and CSU comes out thriving when they're back against the wall.
Personally, I love that kitchen rotation CSU just did. You post the firing squad up in a 1v4. Yeah, you might lose someone, but everyone else is going to be able to make sure that your death was not in vain. Typically, it only works like once or twice, though, so I doubt we'll see him do it again.
Still a couple of ults available. Empress was held on to, only Viper's Pit committed. They do at least have the Resurrect, which gives them a slight get-out-of-jail-free card, depending upon the positional. Curious to see... Oh, that's such an aggressive peek. You're playing so far aggressive into that, and that's going to be a 1-for-1 trade, though. And since they're so far forward, that's not going to give Aldum a place for the res either.
No, Aldum cannot risk that res unless May manages to clear out everything here. Big Dame might Under the
What?
staircase, gets the better shot.
No!
Operator, the head was hidden. There's nothing the op could do. Now we have Alden coming in. It is just the race. This is it. Empress gets popped. This is full commit from the Broncos. There is no way they're losing this 1v4. And that is Icebox towards the Broncos.
See, and this is where the hesitant play, unfortunately, will fall shy to those with a plan and who is proactive in their play. Because realistically, even if the value doesn't come through after that first initial pick by Big, it's realistically an opportunity for the res. That was what I was talking about, is that the res was so far forward that you didn't want to lose it. With the Reyna back online, you can continue to throttle forward, and even though that leads to 2 more kills, then it's just a nail in the coffin. There's nothing else you can do.
It was an absolute amazing show of force, honestly, coming out from the Broncos. And I'm glad we didn't get the res, because I always love seeing a battle stage personally. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the Idaho Army National Guard, who's a proud supporter of Boise State Esports. Top plays of the game are presented by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your impressive critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 jobs, offering $20,000 in bonuses and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is the best team out there. Reach out to them on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. Now, with that being said, Rich, if you were to theoretically nominate a player for the player of the game here for Valorant, who would it be?
I mean, the name should be written among the stars because it's skies for me, personally. I'm going to say that we saw a lot more, I think, of course, in Map 1 for Ascent, but there was still a lot of relevancy going into Icebox and what they were able to bring on this Reyna and the dominant plays. Despite them being shut down with the Empress on one singular occasion, they managed to recuperate later on towards this, and that's going to be at least my vote. And I'm not sure if everybody else agrees, but that's where I'm shooting.
I'm going with Skies as well, but of course it's going to be up to production who gets it. Every time I make a prediction, I always either hear giggles or that then they start the video for the player of the game, and then I hear giggles because they're trying not to give it away to me that I was completely wrong. But if I'm completely wrong, I've just accepted my fate. I'm bad at making predictions, and I'm not surprised. The player of the game is actually going to be Maze. The ICCU player of the game is brought to you by the Idaho Central Credit Union. Believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Maze, our sub who came in to help us out today, is the Idaho Central Credit Union player of the game. Maze, I'm super excited to see what you bring to the table in the coming weeks. You absolutely popped off. Multi-kills left and right, plus saving our Sova here over on Icebox on A site. It was phenomenal. So excited to see what you bring to the table in the future.
I mean, just subbing in and filling the void when you otherwise wouldn't have a team, that right there is already star power play. Realistically, and even like dirty angles like these where you're getting a triple kill, again, everyone performing, and there are just those highlight moments that we talk about, but 100% agree with you that Maze is well deserving of this, and production probably knows better than us. I at least got the forecast right about the map that we were going to next, so I've got at least a 50-50 on my selection so far. I can't complain.
Yeah, honestly, I'm just going to start just agreeing with you more and more on whatever you start predicting in the future. If you want to go buy one of those Powerball
Oreo
tickets,
Hershey's
whatever you
chocolate.
put in. Oh, yes, that as well. Whatever you predict, I'll be like, I'm going to follow up with that. So we might end up having to split a jackpot in the future. But as we prepare to close out this portion of the broadcast, because, of course, there's more later, what are your big takeaways from what we saw today?
I mean, the biggest thing is the adaptation that comes out from Boise State. The aggression has always been a staple for them, just in their methodology. And the fact that they've always had this type of lean in, run and gun type of play has boded well for them. But their understanding as well to when they need to slow it down, that has actually grown quite tremendously since I've seen them earlier just in this school year and this specific sector or this specific season. So I just want to continue to see them do that. Their adaptability, their understanding of